The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis is an allegorical novel that delves into the profound themes of heaven, hell, free will, and the consequences of human choices. The story unfolds as a dream experienced by the narrator, who finds himself in a dreary, joyless town. This town, later understood to be hell, or a purgatorial state, is depicted not as a place of fiery torment, but as a bleak and dismal city where the inhabitants live in isolation and perpetual dissatisfaction. The narrative is built around a fantastical bus journey from this grey town to the outskirts of heaven, offering the characters and through them the readers a chance to reflect on the nature of their choices and the possibility of redemption. The grey town symbolizes a self-made hell, where people are trapped not by external forces, but by their own attitudes and decisions. It is a place devoid of joy and substance, where there is no such thing as a happy ending. The narrator notes the endless expanse of empty houses, indicating that the inhabitants continually move away from one another, driven by quarrels and a desire for isolation. This town serves as an allegory for the state of souls that have chosen to reject God and live in self-imposed separation from Him and others. The journey begins when the narrator finds himself at a bus stop, where a group of quarrelsome and unhappy people are waiting. A shining bus arrives and the passengers, including the narrator, board it. The bus ascends into the sky, leaving the grey town behind and heading towards a bright and beautiful country, the outskirts of heaven. Upon arrival, the passengers are met by radiant beings, the bright spirits who are residents of heaven. These spirits come to guide and persuade the ghosts from the grey town to let go of their burdens and embrace the fullness of life in heaven. Each encounter between a ghost and a bright spirit serves to illustrate different moral and spiritual struggles. The passengers are representative of various types of souls, each clinging to something that prevents them from accepting the grace and joy of heaven. One of the key themes in these encounters is the idea of free will and the choices that individuals make, which ultimately determine their eternal destiny. One of the first characters we meet is the Big Ghost, who is outraged to see his former employee Len among the bright spirits. The Big Ghost is indignant because Len, who had murdered a man, is in heaven while he, who considers himself a decent and respectable person, is not. Len explains that he has been forgiven because he repented and accepted grace, whereas the Big Ghost's pride and self-righteousness prevent him from doing the same. Len tries to help the Big Ghost understand that no one is kept out of heaven for his own sins, but for refusing to acknowledge them and ask forgiveness. However, the Big Ghost cannot let go of his self-righteousness and refuses to stay. Another notable encounter is with the Intelligent Man, who prides himself on his intellectual pursuits. He dismisses heaven and its joys as mere sentimentalism, insisting that intellectual honesty requires skepticism and doubt. A bright spirit tries to explain that true intelligence leads to truth and that the love of truth should bring one closer to God, not further away. However, the Intelligent Man is more attached to his identity as a skeptic and chooses to return to the grey town, unwilling to surrender his pride. The Hard-Bitten Ghost is another tragic figure who embodies cynicism and distrust. She believes that everything is a con and that the bright spirits are merely trying to manipulate her. She sees the beautiful landscape as an illusion, unable to accept the reality of heaven. This character represents a soul so hardened by cynicism that she cannot recognize or accept goodness, love, or truth when it is offered to her. Her skepticism acts as a barrier, preventing her from experiencing true joy and peace. One of the most moving encounters is with a woman named Pam, who is obsessed with her deceased son, Michael. Pam's love for Michael has become an unhealthy obsession, overshadowing all else, including her relationship with God. Her brother Reginald, a bright spirit, gently explains that her attachment to her grief and to Michael is a form of idolatry. He tells her, "You cannot love a fellow creature fully till you love God." Pam's inability to let go of her grief and her refusal to love God more than her son prevent her from embracing the joy of heaven. This encounter highlights the danger of making any created thing an idol, even something as seemingly pure as a mother's love for her child. The narrator himself is accompanied by George MacDonald, a historical figure and author whom Lewis admired. MacDonald serves as the narrator's guide and mentor, providing insight into the nature of the journey and the spiritual truths being revealed. He explains that the Grey Town is a place where souls have the opportunity to leave and choose heaven, but many are unwilling to do so because they cannot let go of their sins, pride, or false beliefs. MacDonald emphasizes that hell is a state of mind as much as a physical place, saying there are only two kinds of people in the end: those who say to God, "Thy will be done," and those to whom God says, in the end, "Thy will be done." Throughout the novel, Lewis explores the idea that heaven and hell are not merely destinations but are states of being determined by one's choices and character. The passengers on the bus have the opportunity to choose heaven, but this requires a radical transformation of their hearts and minds. The refusal of many to stay in the bright land is not due to external obstacles, but to their own unwillingness to change. The bright spirits offer them the opportunity to let go of their old selves and embrace the truth and joy of heaven, but many are too attached to their sins and illusions to accept this offer. The novel's title, The Great Divorce, refers to the separation between heaven and hell, but it also signifies the separation between good and evil, truth and falsehood, and ultimately between God and those who choose to reject Him. Lewis suggests that this separation is not an arbitrary punishment, but a natural consequence of the choices individuals make. The Grey Town represents the state of souls who have chosen to live without God, while the Bright Land represents the fullness of life in communion with God. In the end, the narrator awakens from his dream, realizing that the journey was a vision or allegory. The insights gained from this experience prompt him to reflect deeply on the nature of life, choices, and the afterlife. The novel concludes on a note of introspection, encouraging readers to examine their own lives and the choices they make, urging them to seek truth, love, and a deeper relationship with God. Lewis's depiction of the afterlife is not intended as a literal portrayal, but as a means to illustrate the consequences of human choices and the nature of divine grace. Through the various characters and their struggles, Lewis invites readers to consider the state of their own souls and the direction of their lives. The novel's exploration of free will, repentance, and the transformative power of God's love makes it a timeless and valuable reflection on the human condition and the possibilities of redemption. Well, that does it for our summary of The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. As always, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content for the soul. Take care, and God bless.